Thousands have tried to bring peace to the Middle East. Politicians, diplomats, religious leaders, even rock stars. They've all tried, they've all failed. But I've found the solution. In one word, backgammon. In 2 words, sheshbesh. You're laughing, but I'm serious. Games can be an incredibly powerful force. In at least one tragic moment in history, a game had even started a war. It was the summer of 1969 when the football war broke out between Honduras and El Salvador during qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup. Fans fought violently and took to the streets, and the nations dissolved all diplomatic ties. Football was just a trigger, of course. This conflict was about economic policy and immigration, but still, what started as a game had become a full-blown war. If a game started a war, is it so crazy to imagine a game might end one as well? Today we're talking about bringing peace to the Middle East, but our beginning was modest. It all started about 9 months ago. I was sitting together with Jewish and Arab friends at Hiday's house in Jerusalem. We had convened to discuss the next steps of the project we've been working on to bring Jews and Arabs together around a shared love for Middle Eastern music. But we couldn't agree on anything. And very quickly, our conversation deteriorated into a heated debate. Then, in the middle of all of this, my good friend Dro made a suggestion. He said, guys, let's take a break. How about we play something? Maybe some backgammon, sheshbesh? To be honest, the last thing I wanted to do was play some silly game. I thought it would be a waste of time and a distraction, but Dro insisted. It was about 6 or 7 minutes into the game, when it had already become quite clear that Mahmoud was kicking Dro's ass, that it suddenly hit us. Not only is backgammon fun and engaging, not only is it a game that both Jews and Arabs know how to play, but also in just 6 or 7 minutes of playing together, it had completely diffused all tension. We were laughing, picking sides, making fun of each other's poor backgammon skills, and the original debate was completely forgotten. That's how we started the Jerusalem Daavel project, a series of backgammon tournaments that take place in Jerusalem in Arab and Jewish neighborhoods. We wanted to bring Jews and Arabs together beyond the daily grind. We wanted to create a joint cultural experience in which everyone can share. And we wanted to create crossover between neighborhoods that, for generations, have been completely segregated. So, where to start? We hosted the first backgammon tournament in Beit Hanina, an Arab neighborhood in East Jerusalem. It wasn't easy to convince our Jewish friends to cross the divide and venture into Arab Jerusalem, but we didn't give up. This is Ezra. Ezra is a religious Orthodox Jew from West Jerusalem who really didn't want to have any of what we were organizing. When we tried to convince him to come, he asked a few basic questions. Why would I go to Beit Hanina? Isn't it dangerous? Where will I park? Will they steal my car? Do they have cell phone service in Beit Hanina? 1,000,001 reasons why not to come. But we didn't give up. Maybe it was something about what we were doing, or maybe it was how much we insisted. Maybe it was that, after all, it's just a game, and backgammon for Ezra and so many others has a comforting familiarity of a game we've all been playing since childhood. Whatever it was enough to pique Ezra's interest and convince him to do something he had never done before. Cross the divide between Jewish and Arab Jerusalem. Ezra was joined that night by 150 people, of whom a third were Jews from West Jerusalem. And in the end of the evening, he was pretty glad he showed up. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited and proud to present the Beit Hanina backgammon champion, Ezra. Would you believe it? This guy, who we literally needed to drag to the event, ended up winning the competition that evening. And while he may have won, the real victory for me was that Ezra attended every single one of the Backgammon events we've organized since, including this one, which took place just 3 months later, this time in West Jerusalem, in Jewish West Jerusalem, where 500 people showed up, Jews and Arabs, men and women, young and old, religious and secular, showed up to see with their own eyes what Backgammon had made possible in our beloved city of Jerusalem. This is what it looks like. There are at least 2 reasons this idea has rallied the support and captured the imagination of thousands. First, quite simply, it's a game. What we know as kids but tend to forget as adults is the important role games play in our lives. As infants, we play as a form of practice that helps us develop skills we need later in life. By the time we're kids, we play in a way that mimics or reflects the real world. As teenagers or adolescents, we play as if the game and its consequences are, in fact, the real world. By the time we're all grown up, as adults, we live and construct our lives in patterns of play. Whether courtship, relationships, even politics, we're constantly engaged in the world of games. Recent studies show that games and play are important not only in the development of our social faculties, but also in building empathy, trust, persuading us to take risks and think creatively. One such study at McGill University shows how just 15 minutes of play are enough to transform a complete stranger into someone we feel the same degree of empathy towards as a friend we've known for years. 15 minutes. That's all it takes. Another study on rats shows that rats whose play was suppressed during development will flee and hide away at first sight of danger. These rats are so scared, they hide away and they never resurface. They die in hiding. On the other hand, rats that were allowed to play, they also flee. I mean, who wouldn't? But here's the amazing part. When the danger is no longer present, these rats, they resurface. They come back out into the world to give it another chance. Now, these are amazing findings. Think about how they apply to what we're talking about here today. Play can create empathy between strangers, even apparent enemies, and it can give us the confidence we need to trust in each other and in the world, even after we've been slighted, even after we've experienced pain, suffering, and fear. So games can play a role in conflict resolution. So far, that's clear. But why backgammon? Why backgammon in particular? It's not nearly as reputable as some of its prestigious and serious counterparts like chess or bridge. But that's exactly the point. We're in the Middle East, not in some exclusive country club. Backgammon is deeply rooted in these parts. Its origin can be traced back nearly 5,000 years to the Mesopotamian kingdom of Ul, now modern-day Iraq. And while the game grew popular and spread to the West during the time of the Romans, it's never left the Middle East. Empires have come and gone, but backgammon has always been here to stay. We even have evidence that during the time of the Ottomans, Jews and Arabs would sit together in the coffee houses in Jerusalem, smoke hookah or nargila, and play backgammon together. And in our times, in modern times, look at these photos. People playing backgammon in the Iraqi shuk in Jerusalem, in a coffee shop in Damascus, in Ramallah, in Marrakesh, in Istanbul, in Cairo. Notice how similar we all look. And here is my grandfather and namesake, a proud Syrian Jew who played backgammon in Thailand where he lived with the Egyptian and Iranian ambassador in the 1960s. Backgammon works in the Middle East because it's accessible and inclusive. The rules are simple. Anyone can play, anyone can win. It erases hierarchy and allows people of all backgrounds to have a seat at the table. Politicians, university professors, taxi drivers, car mechanics, they've all participated in our events. And while in the real world, they may command more or less respect, own more or less property, make more or less money, in backgammon, neither black nor white checkers have an inherent advantage. In backgammon, we're all equal. But above all, backgammon is about two people sitting across one from the other, staring each other in the eye, and playing a game together. Go home, play with your friends, play with your coworkers, even the ones you don't get along with. Play with your kids. Teach them about their roots. Teach them about the history and culture we share with our neighbors. If we all do our part, what's possible in a game has the potential to transcend the board into the real world and become a true catalyst for change. And maybe, just maybe, if we all do our part, together we can bring peace to the Middle East. Come play with us.